Good morning from Wiesbaden, Germany. My name is Billy Reinstatler, and this morning I'll be discussing the experience of Andrew Carnegie in the postbellum era after the Civil War, um, the postbellum economy, rather. So, the postbellum era saw great expansion in manufacturing throughout the United States. In our reading this week in David R. Meyer's article, Midwestern industrialization and the American manufacturing belt in the 19th century. This largely occurred, this expansion, between the years 1870 and 1910. There were other expansions prior to that in the 1850s and before the war, but in the postbellum era, really the years 1870 to 1910 really saw the greatest expansion in industrialization. As things expanded and more factories were built, more machinery was needed, and the demand for both iron and steel soared. Transportation networks increased, particularly rail, as a result of the need for steel and iron. And these linked factories and agriculture in the Midwest to the East Coast. And additionally, as this network expanded, transportation costs decreased. Andrew Carnegie was really at the center of some of this expansion. He was an industrialist, and he was the head of various corporations during the late, really 1860s and 70s, but they ultimately became the Carnegie Steel Company. One of the things he did was improve the Bessemer process, which resulted in a stronger and cheaper steel by removing some of the impurities from it. So his company, the Carnegie Steel Corporation or Company, kind of improved that and made his mark on the industry that way. Ultimately, by the turn of the century, beginning of the 20th century, Carnegie would sell to J.P. Morgan what would become U.S. Steel as he retired. But Carnegie had come from humble beginnings. He immigrated to Pennsylvania from his native Scotland when he was a young boy, began working as a messenger boy for the Atlantic and Ohio Telegraph Company before ultimately working for the Western Division of the Pennsylvania Railroad in Pittsburgh. And here he steadily rose through the ranks and was able to expand into the steel industry by means of the contacts he made. And his net worth expanded accordingly. His income for the year 1865 was around $38,750. 3 years later, it was up to around $50,000. And his net worth was over $400,000. When you adjust that for inflation, so from 1868, $400,000 to today, that's approximately $8.3 million. So he was a very wealthy man in his time. Carnegie was also a philanthropist and author. In his article Wealth, which was published in the North American Review in 1889, he outlined his belief that the wealthy should use their excess wealth during their lives for the good of their fellow man instead of leaving it behind upon their deaths. He argued that for every $1,000 given to charity, $950 of that was unwisely spent. So a wealthy man should give to a specific cause to ensure its proper use. In his article published later that year in December of 1889, the article titled "The Best Fields for Philanthropy" expanded upon these causes, and they included the establishment of universities, free libraries, hospitals, public parks, music or meeting halls, swimming pools, and churches. His basic idea was that one should give their excess wealth to establish something with public utility and help others up the ladder to success. Mere charity was not helpful because one cannot guarantee that the $10 one may give to a beggar would be wisely spent or improve that poor man's life in any substantial way. Better to build a library wherein he can improve himself and get out of his state of poverty than to just give him the $10. So Carnegie was a very important figure in the postbellum economy. His industries improved the steel industry, had a great impact upon rail, and he accomplished this, his wealth and ability to give to philanthropic endeavors through the shrewd application of his talents. He used it to expand his business empire, and even at a relatively young age sought to wisely administer it to the benefit of his fellow man. And his impact we can still see today Many of the institutions he established, the free libraries, churches, meeting halls, as well as, and really with churches, he gave church organs to many different denominations. We can still see that today as those institutions still exist. In some, Andrew Carnegie is an example of a self-made man. He's an entrepreneur who rose from humble beginnings to end his life with great wealth, which he was able to share to the benefit of others. Thank you.